Welcome to Trident Astrology. I'm Janine Kane. Today I'm going to be going over the October weekly forecast for the 12th through the 18th. Alright, so we start the week off with 5 planets in retrograde: Mars, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Eris. Now the last few videos I have not included Eris, to my error. So I'm going to ameliorate that, and I'm going to be including Eris in retrograde. She went retrograde on July 20th, 2020, and she'll be going direct on January 10th, 2021. Okay, so this week we have Mercury going retrograde on October 13th. And we do not have any interplanetary ingressions this week. The next ingression for the inner planets will be on October 22nd, when the Sun enters into Scorpio. And at the end of the month, we'll have Mercury and Venus both entering into Libra on October 27th. This week we have a powerful new supermoon in Libra, and we have a lot of energy going on this week. And what I'm going to be mostly focusing on is the Mercury-Venus sextile going exact, which is connected to a Grand Earth Trine between Venus, Pallas, Athena, and Uranus, all in Earth signs. And I'll be focusing on the Mercury Retrograde and the new supermoon in Libra, which is connected to the T-square we talked about last week between the Sun, Mars, Eris, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. I'm going to be not including some of these aspects in today's screencast. So if you want to read the full report, down at the description is a link to my blog, so you can read the full weekly report. Okay, so let's get to it. So October 12th, on Monday, we have Mercury-Venus sextile going exact at 11 degrees. This sextile invigorates service to our inner healing, that's the Venus in Virgo, as we delve deep into the unknown of our psyches. That's Mercury in Scorpio energy happening there. And this is especially true this week as Mercury is going to be going retrograde. So this sextile is being benefited also by the dynamic of a Grand Earth Trine here between Venus in Virgo, Pallas Athena and Jupiter in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus. So with this Grand Earth Trine, we have an opportunity for great personal growth and integration as we learn to adapt to the changes in our world. Jupiter represents hope and faith. Pallas Athena represents spiritual warriorship, and these energies are infusing hope and courage in us as we experience the changing landscape of the world around us. And that's that Uranus in Taurus. It's creating this change in the landscape of our world. Okay, on Tuesday, we have Mercury going retrograde at 11 degrees and 40 minutes of Scorpio. Mercury, the ancient symbolism of the hermaphroditic androgynous Mercury signifies the process of universal consciousness, learning from opposites. It's the capacity to witness spirit and physical manifestation to find balanced thought. It represents universal consciousness, learning from the polarity of the yin and yang principles. Now, I'm going to describe what this definition means because it's very, the Mercury symbolism here is strongly influences the process of the Mercury retrograde. So let me pull up my system here to show you what I mean and why this definition is so important in relationship to this Mercury retrograde. Whoops. Okay, let's see. Got to pull up my system here. Okay, so we have the symbol of Mercury, and do pardon my chicken scratch, I'm still learning this system. So we have, Mercury has 3 components to its symbolism. The first component is that of spirit. It's like the ectopsychic consciousness or awareness, the sense of feeling, knowing that I am a spirit experiencing the physical manifestation. Now, the circle symbolizes universal consciousness. It's like the Tao. It's the unknown. It's the implicate domain. It's the endopsychic domain. It's the deep unknown reaches of our psyches. The cross of matter here symbolizes physical manifestation. And why does it symbolize physical manifestation? Because it represents the 4 cardinal points. Eris, which is the spring equinox. Libra, which is the autumnal equinox. We have Cancer, which is the summer solstice. And then we have Capricorn, which is the winter solstice. This cross of matter symbolizes the cyclic nature of reality, the periodicity in reality. So going back to the Mercury symbolism here, and as it relates to the retrograde. So universal consciousness here is learning from the opposite polarities of the yin, the spirit, and the yang, physical manifestation. So universal consciousness is learning from the ectopsychic and the endopsychic, the explicit and the implicate, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the unknown. Okay, so when Mercury goes retrograde, our mental energy or perceptions are moving from the material into the spiritual. Now, when Mercury goes direct, we're moving from the spiritual to the material. Okay? So let's talk about the Mercury retrograde a little bit. So when Mercury retrograde, technology can malfunction, appointments may be delayed, other slight mishaps may occur. So these mishaps create events that are outside of our control. And so it's persuading us to look deeper inside of ourselves for contentment, to be patient with constraints, to delay gratification. It teaches us to trust the flow of life, the trust the Tao. So it teaches us to go inward from the material into the spiritual. And so why is Mercury hermaphroditic? Because it symbolizes the combination of the masculine yang and the yin feminine principles. Mercury is a wayfinder, it's a psychopump, so he can move between the ectopsychic realm of the psyche and the endopsychic. Okay, so as such, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's a great time to meditate. It's a great time to daydream, to go for a long walk. It's a great time to work on projects that we've been procrastinating on. So with Mercury and Scorpio going retrograde, our minds have the opportunity to connect to the platonic depths of our inner unknown domain. So we're dealing with the axis of being here with Scorpio and Taurus axis of being. Taurus represents the physical, the known. It's what we have control over. Mercury and Scorpio represents the spiritual, the unknown, things we don't have control over. So whilst it's not easy, because I don't think many of us enjoy the unknown or not being in control over things, I think it's important nonetheless to learn to accept the unknown, perhaps even embrace the unknown, because it's an imperative component to us evolving as we experience the consistent change. See, Pluto, ruling Scorpio, it symbolizes the cyclic nature of change and regeneration. So Mercury retrograde is a really good time for inner self-reflection. Okay, so also on Tuesday, we have the Sun opposing Mars here, going exact at 21 degrees. And what happens is when the Sun-Mars opposition goes exact, this is when Mars is at its closest proximity to Earth. And this strengthens the Mars retrograde energy, and it strengthens this T-square here between the Sun, Mars, Eris, and the outer planets of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. And this T-square is going to be is a strong focal point energetically this week, and it's tied into the new moon with the moon joining into this T-square when it conjuncts the Sun. So, and also this T-square is going to get stronger and stronger as we end the week, because the Sun square Pluto goes exact on the 15th, and then the Sun-Saturn square goes exact on the 18th, and then the Mars squaring Jupiter is going to go exact on the 18th. Okay, so that's that. So let's talk about Friday the 16th. So Friday the 16th, we have our new supermoon in Libra, and a supermoon happens when the moon is in perigee, meaning that the moon is closest to the Earth. So that, with the moon conjunct the Sun right now and it's in perigee, that's a strong new supermoon. And being that it's tied into this T-square, it makes it even stronger. So this new supermoon in Libra, so this new moon, this Sun and Moon conjunct, is in opposition here to the Mars Eris energy. And this is squaring the outer planets, that these social shifting planets, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. And this is a really intense energy. Now, these outer planets are creating social, political, and cultural restructuring and regeneration. That's the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter there, which is greatly impacting our sense of self, the Sun, and impacting our emotions, the Moon. It's shaking things up, that Eris Mars, it's shaking things up emotionally. It's bringing up intense and sometimes confrontational, discordant social energy. So this new supermoon in Libra is so much about the individual existing in the world. That's the Sun in Libra. And how we are forming a relationship to ourselves personally, that's the Aries, and with the social world, that's the Libra energy. New moons begin a new lunar cycle and are about new beginnings. And the collective energetic focus of this new start is about the individual's relationship to the world. Okay, so how we form a sense of self in the world is through interaction with others. There is a working inter-influence of polarity here between the self and other. That's the Aries axis Libra, the Aries Libra axis happening here. So our personal and social worlds are formed by these two inter-influencing dynamics. So these two things need integrating, and this is a constant process throughout the lifetime. So in astrology, oppositions are about integrating polarities and contradictions in the psyche. Here we have the axis of life being triggered by this new supermoon. The personal, which is the Mars, Eris, and Aries, on the axis with the social, the Sun, Moon, and Libra. They can be out of balance, this dynamic of self and others. So they can be out of balance when we focus too much on ourselves without the consideration of others. That's the Mars and Aries. Or we can be out of balance when we're not thinking enough for ourselves. You see, the sun is in its fall in Libra. And with this setup, the social world has a primary influence on shaping the identity. It is challenging for the sun in Libra to form a sense of self autonomously. So what this is indicating is that with the social, political, cultural changes happening, we can get just swept up in it without thinking for ourselves, without thinking critically, without thinking with moderation and balance and careful consideration, without letting our emotions get intensely involved. So Libra is a cardinal air sign. It's very tied into thinking. Now, Libra is ruled by Venus and exalted by Saturn. So it's very much about thinking carefully, methodically, clearly, and forming opinions pragmatically in order to form cooperative relationships. Now, that's challenging right now with the social political polarity happening here with the Saturn-Pluto influence. And there is intense emotions involved here with the Mars opposing the moon here. So there's just an intense amount of integration that needs to be happening here with our sense of self in the world. Okay, moving on. So we also see here with this new moon is that the Sun-Moon conjunction is trining the North Node in Gemini. So there's a great collective mental shift of perception happening here. So this shift involves, among many things, the integration of the self, the individual, and the collective needs. So we can see here that the North Node in Gemini is also quincunx the outer planets here that are involved in the T-square, the Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. Now, when we have a quincunx, the planets have nothing in common. They cannot hear each other. So making adjustments toward growth requires an immense amount of effort. So this indicates that the collective destiny, the collective mental shift, it's difficult at this time adjusting to the social challenges and the changes happening. So, but with the trine here, with the North Node, with the moon and sun in conjunction, can indicate that the collective shift has a lot more to do with us making personal shifts and growths, integrating the axis of self and other. Okay, so enough about that. So on Sunday, let me pull up that chart. We have it's Chiron's birthday. So happy birthday, Chiron! Chiron was discovered on October 18th in 1977 by Charles Kowal. I hope I'm saying that right. From a photographic plate taken. So happy birthday, Chiron, on Sunday. Okay, so also on Sunday, we have the Venus-Neptune opposition going exact, and this is about integrating the axis of spirit. So Venus in Virgo is about service to our own inner healing, and Neptune in Pisces is about dissolution into total universal consciousness. There is no sense of separation of self from other. It's just we're all connected into each other, okay? So this component to integrating, this opposition is about compassion for our wounds with the realization that we all experience some form and spectrum of emotional, mental, and physical pain, but temporarily as we inhabit the physical form. But this eventually we leave this body and we dissolve back into universal source. So this is a lot to integrate. I mean, this takes a lifetime to integrate this axis of spirit between Virgo and Pisces. This takes immense amount of insight and enlightenment to reach this level of integration. So that's pretty intense energy there. So anyway, so we begin the week with Jupiter-Neptune sextile, going exact on Monday the 12th, expanding spiritual growth as we adapt our sense of self in the world with the challenging socio-political and cultural shifts happening. Then we have Venus-Mercury sextile going exact the same day, emphasizing service to our inner healing as we connect to the deeper spaces of our inner psyches. So this dynamic is aided with the Grand Earth Trine, grounding us in the process of integration. On Tuesday the 13th, Mercury goes retrograde, persuading us to move from the material domain of perceptions into the inner domain of spiritual insight. We benefit from letting go of control during this time, meditating and working on things we have previously procrastinated on. So when the Sun-Mars opposition goes exact on that same day, so when Sun-Mars opposition goes exact, the Mars goes closer in proximity to the Earth. So this is increasing the Mars retrograde energy and the T-square between the Sun, Mars, Eris, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, making collaborative interaction with others a challenge. On Friday, the 16th, we have a powerful new supermoon in Libra, emphasizing the integration of the personal and social aspects of identity, balancing the need to think for ourselves whilst cooperating with others. Okay, so that's a pretty intense week we have there, and a very powerful super new moon in Libra, excuse me. So future highlights for the upcoming weekly forecast. On the 19th, we have the Venus-Mars quincunx going exact. We have Venus-Jupiter trine and the Mercury-Uranus opposition going exact. On the 21st, we have Venus-Pluto trine going exact. On the 22nd, we have the Sun entering into Scorpio. On the same day, we have Mercury-Chiron quincunx going exact. We move into that this week next week on the 23rd, we have the quarter moon phase with the Sun Moon having a waxing square. And then on the 24th, we have Venus-Saturn trine going exact. So again, thank you so much for joining me for this weekly forecast, Trident Astrology. And I really look forward to having you join me next week. And stay grounded, stay focused on your personal healing and growth this week, and join me next week. Blessings and love.